So welcome to the main event. We are on the daily chart for MicroStrategy. If you don't know who MicroStrategy are, they are basically the proxy for Bitcoin. So they're the stock for Bitcoin because MicroStrategy basically only buys Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, so does MicroStrategy. Let's have a quick look at this, the strategy. You can see here on the chart we have absolutely nothing. How do we trade a daily chart? Highs and lows? Well, the reality is we simply put on our indicator. So if we click down and we show our indicator here, the indicator will populate and it'll show us the levels. So we have an all-time high. Then we have the levels at 10% going all the way down to 60%. Very straightforward. It starts looking a lot different when we do this. How do we invest and make profits using these lines and the way that the markets naturally move up and down from their all-time highs? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really simple, and if you stick to it, then you will make some very, very nice money out of doing this. So how much do you need to invest? Well, you can invest with as little as $100, £100 per trade. I would always advise to have around about 1,000 available. You don't need it, and it's very rare that you'll need it all the time because you're going to be in and out of the market. So this is MicroStrategy, and this is going back all the way to November 2024. This is the trades I was taking on the way. It's very much, we're looking for pullbacks, and we're looking for them from the all-time high. So let's just quickly walk through what we're going to do. And I'm going to use the Pathfinder to show you that. So here's the all-time high. When we pull back to 10%, we have an option to buy the market. If we did buy the market here, our exit strategy would be at the all-time high again. That is for the 10% rule. It's different for everything else. So we're taking profits as soon as this comes back to the all-time high. Now let's just get rid of this and start it again, and we'll show you exactly how it works when we go down to 20%. So at 10%, let's just say we take a trade, but price does nothing. It pulls back down to 20%. Then we take another trade. Now each of these are individual trades. They are not the same trade, and we are not accumulating them together. So as price moves down to our 20% level, we are looking to take 50% off, including our profits at this level, and then another 50% off when we reach this level. Now let's quickly look at that. So what we have here is a 20% pullback, and we're going to take 50% off, including profits, and then another 50% off here, including profits. We can then reinvest that whole cycle, because this is what we class as a cycle. If we only make 50%, that's half a cycle. Okay, so that's how we're taking profits, but we're going to do it multiple times. So let's go all the way back and let's start again. We start at the all-time high. We pull back to 10%. We don't get a move back up. That trade is still going. We move then down to the 20%, and we can see we didn't get a pull back to the 10%, so we're not going to do anything. Then we move down to the 30% line. At this point, we're now in 3 separate trades. Okay. Now this has happened over a number of days, but it's happened pretty quick because we've reached the all-time high, and we usually get a sell-off from the all-time high. Price is now pulled back up to the 20% level. So that means at the moment we're break even on the 20% level. We're down on the 10%, but we're up on the 30%. Now we're going to take 50% profit out at this level, including our profits and what we put in. So for instance, if we put in $100 there, we're going to take $50 out plus our profits at this level. Now price has pulled back, so what we do is we're going to reinvest the $50. So we're now back in with $100 for the 30% level. As we move up again and we reach the 20%, we take 50% out again, including the profits, and then as we pull back, we reinvest just the $50 or £50. Now you can see we didn't pull back up there, but we've already made money here and here. As price pulls back, we reach the 40% line. We put another $100, £100 in. We move back up and we take 50% out at that trade. We pull back down, we reinvest it, we pull back up and we get 50% out again. We pull back down, we're 50% back in. So now at this point, we have the 40%, 30%, 20% and 10% trades in. So if that was a total budget of 100 each time, we'd be in with £400 or $400. We then pull back again and we get down to the 50% level. Now at this point, I am doubling the amount of money that's in there. So I'm putting in 200 rather than 100. Price doesn't pull back here yet. In fact, it moves a little bit lower, but then eventually gets up to here. So we're taking 50% out of this trade, including the profits, but then we pull back. We're back in with the other 50%. So we're now at $200 for this one, 100, 100, 100, and 100. Then we move back up to this point here. At this point, we've then taken 50% out for the 50% trade. And as we reach up to the 30%, we hit a full cycle. A full cycle is when our trade completes 2 levels. So at this point now we are out with 50% at this level, 50% at this level, which is 100%. But for our 40% trade, we're also out at 50%, including the profits. We haven't had a pullback. We don't manage to reach the next level. So nothing's happened at the moment until this point here. So at this point, we're taking out 50% of our 30 and 100% of our 40. So our 40% has now hit a cycle. It's went 2 levels up. We've taken all of our profits out and we've taken 50% of the 30% trade. We get another pullback here. So we're back in with 100% for this trade and another pullback here. So we're back in with a full trade at this point. So this is where we are with MicroStrategy at the moment. So at the moment, let's just stop that one there. We've now taken profits for our 50%, our 40%, our 30%. We're back in full with our 30% and we've rebought at our 40% level. So that's 100, 100, 100, 200, 400, sorry. 100, 100, 100, 100, 200 and 400. That's how we work it. If price pops down further than 60%, we do nothing. We wait until price comes back up again. That is the strategy. We buy as we pull back to each level and we sell 50% as we move up for each trade for each level. Now, as we can see at the moment with MicroStrategy, we're still at the 40% line and we're going to do nothing. If price pulls back down to the 50%, we'll put 200 back in. If it ever pulls back to 60%, we'll put 400 in. We're investment traders. So we don't worry how long it takes. We know that MicroStrategy is an absolutely solid stock. It's based on Bitcoin. They're a very high volatility cryptocurrency, but we're hitting new highs every single year with Bitcoin. So using this strategy and using MicroStrategy as well, we're around about here at the 40% line and we're in with 3 trades, 1, 2, 3, actually 4 trades if you went in at 10%. Now let me talk about 10%. I rarely use a 10% trade. I very rarely buy a 10% trade because I want price to pull back to at least 20%. The reason being is you don't get the same profits out of 10% as what you do with the 20% and the 30, the 40, the 50 and the 60 because you've only got one level to go back up to. There are some stocks which we will talk about in a different video that we use 10% for all the time because they only ever pull back to 10%. Some stocks will never pull back to 30%. Some will never pull back to 40%. Some will never pull back to 50%. And some will definitely never pull back to 60%. This is just a good example of how we trade this stock. Our end goal, if we ended up at taking a trade at the 10% level, is to get back to the all-time high and complete a full cycle of every trade. So we would be out at this point. What we can do, if we are in at 10% and we reach there, we can go out completely, close all the trades, reinvest the money once we get to another all-time high or we get a pullback. Now we're only ever trading pullbacks. So that's the strategy. Watch the other videos on Tesla and the cryptocurrencies as well to show exactly how we trade them for different stocks. There are going to be updates every single month to show exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. But this is the strategy. We buy at the levels of the pullbacks and we sell on the way back up. Could we sell different ways? Absolutely we can. But in this video, this is the main strategy that I use to make profits every single year in the stock market. You've got to think like a trader, like an investment trader, and you've got to trade like an investment trader. This is not day trading. This is not intraday trading. This is trading over a long span of time and making profits every week, using those profits to compound what you were doing, using those profits to then put back in. So rather than using 100 at each level, maybe you'll start using 120, 130, 140, 200. It all works on what you make with your profits. Now remember, you should only ever invest what you're willing to lose. So don't go in here with $1,000 and $1,000 if you don't have the ability to keep the momentum of those trades going. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Watch the other videos, keep trading the plan, and you will be very, very successful over the years, just like I have.